Stacey Abrams in the hot seat. You know, she's got this nonprofit that she was heavily involved in, that the Biden administration was giving tons and tons and tons. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars to. In fact, the whole sector, the whole space received some $22 billion. She got some 10% of that, around $2 billion, going to power forward communities and Rewiring America. Well, now Rewiring America has just announced it's having to lay everyone off. Well, I guess that's what happens. You know, when Donald Trump comes into office, take a look. This is from Heat Map. Rewiring America slashed the staff due to Trump funding freeze. They can't get the money. They're suing this, that, and the other. I don't think they're ever going to get it because Trump administration is saying, what are you doing? Like, what were you doing, Joe Biden, giving Stacey Abrams $2 billion? You remember this company? It only had like $100 in profits. And they had to like teach everyone how to do some of the basic accounting things that you would do in business. They had like a little seminar for their employees because nobody knew how to do any of this stuff. And so they're like, hey, EPA Chief Lee Zeldin, remember Congressman from New York? I know him well. He comes in and he's like looking at this after Doge exposes this, saying, no way, no how. We're not going to actually be subsidizing this. What is this for Stacey's, friends? They were giving out free stoves down in a little town in Georgia. She kind of implicated herself on this one. I want to go back. This would have been about maybe 8 weeks ago. She appeared on MSNBC and frankly kind of incriminated herself in all this because if you ask me, you want to know what this was about? This was about buying votes. My 2 cents on it, okay? Because they were out there giving out free appliances to people and they were committing some $2 billion to do it. Come on. What the heck was that all about? She's like, oh no, I was just doing a good deed. I was showing how you can cut your electricity bill in half if we just give you new appliances. Well, the company's going down the tubes. There's an investigation going on. They've slashed 28% of their workforce. Here she is, Stacey Abrams, speaking with her favorite buddy. Well, I don't know, maybe a toss-up between Rachel and Chris, but I can't tell the two of them apart. Can you? Here we go.
One of the ironies of the attack on you, and I'm going to play what he did, was that my understanding is the program at the source of this whole thing is a program to lower costs for people. Do I have that top line correct?
You have it absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm gonna play what he had to say, and then I'm gonna ask you to explain what the program is that was such an obvious, ludicrous laugh line for the Republicans there. Take a listen.
$1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her?
Okay, so what is this organization? What is your relation to it, and what does it do?
In 2023 and 2024, I led a program called Vitalizing DeSoto. We worked in a tiny town in South Georgia to demonstrate that by replacing energy inefficient appliances with efficient appliances, you can lower your cost. And in fact, we accomplished that. For 75% of the community, they got appliances that are lowering their bills right now. We had one woman who saw her electric bill cut in half from $180 to $98. That's what we delivered. And based on that program, a coalition of organizations, famous organizations, came together and said to the EPA, if we can do this here, we can do this for millions more Americans. Let us invest the money of America in lowering the cost for Americans. And the EPA said, okay, great, go for it.
Go for it, right? Because, hey, you're our buddies, you're on our team, and we're all blue here, and we care about green energy and this, that, and the other. So why not sock $2 billion into it and maybe pick up a little votes along the way? This whole thing is being investigated as we speak by Lee Zeldin. And the reason it's being investigated is because you have a company that kind of came up out of nowhere. Some people have referred to it as an NGO pop-up, a pop-up because even when you look, and I reviewed some of their accounting documentation, when you look through that documentation, they didn't even have all the pages filled out, right? There's like 44 pages. They barely had any of it filled out. They didn't know how to do basic accounting issues to the point where they had to have a seminar on it. And in the case of Stacey Abrams' nonprofit, she had only had $100 in revenue. So why would you entrust a company that only has done $100 in revenue with $2 billion? Now, apparently she's been distancing herself from this company. Remember, she was the senior counsel, legal counsel to them, but she's since been backing away. Of course, hey, Stacey's got big aspirations. She wants to go on to be the next Georgia governor. Of course, she still thinks she is the Georgia governor. Remember, she's like the only politician that can get away with actually insisting that she still won the election. I mean, in all seriousness, Donald Trump couldn't say that, but Stacey Abrams perfectly fine. And then they do a big New York Times weekend cover spread on her where they just talk about her dating life, how tough it must be to date because, you're in such high demand if you're Stacey Abrams. Anyway, she wants to go on and be the governor of Georgia. Good luck with that, Stacey, honey baby. I think you might actually have a better shot of winding up in jail.
CA has now canceled over $22 billion worth of contracts. $2 billion going to this NGO that Stacey Abrams was tied to. They received only $100 in 2023. And then the Biden administration gave them $2 billion. The director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund saw his former employer get $5 billion. So $20 billion went to just 8 NGOs, and they're all pass-throughs. And then they were giving it to other entities, many of them were pass-throughs. And what you have is all these extra middlemen, they're taking their cut. And the taxpayer ends up getting screwed. They're losing out on all this hard-earned money. They can't afford to have the federal government waste. The partnership with Doge and Elon Musk has been incredible at EPA. Their team is very talented. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And of course, this mandate from President Trump to make sure that we identify every last penny, whether we're saving $50,000, $5 million, or $22 billion. We will not rest until every last penny is saved. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to do this for the American public.
Oh, it's pretty great. I mean, it's crazy. You think about the government waste in general, right? And Doge was able to expose so much, but $22 billion, I'm just blown away by. And the idea that like this lady's getting it, come on. Well, now that the money spigot has been turned off, she's getting creative. She's looking for new ways to earn money. I'm going to get to that in a second. But before I do, one other moment for you. She's got a podcast. She's like going on the podcast saying, we've got to call out Donald Trump, this, that, and the other. Here she is speaking recently on CNN about it. She's really moaning and groaning because, she's lost her gravy train. So much for that really great gravy train, right?
During the speech or after?
I have a podcast called Assembly Required, and we have been having this conversation for the last 6 weeks. And we have to do all of the above. We have to call out Donald Trump on his lies. We have to point out that an unelected oligarch is doing his best to steal America from its people, and Elon Musk. We have a complicit Congress that is allowing him to fire thousands of people who should be delivering services to Americans. And he is now starting trade wars to cover for the fact that he has failed to deliver on his day one promises. Donald Trump is an early failure, and he's hoping that by attacking folks like me and others, that we won't notice that he has failed and that he has no intention of delivering anything other than retribution. He is a petty tyrant who is surrounded by complicit flunkies, and it is the job of Americans to stand up and say, we want what we voted for, and that is progress for America, not petty revenge for Donald Trump.
But in the subject of pettiness, even what Democrats were doing during the speech with the signs of what Al Green did, you don't find that petty?
I do not, because in an opposition position, your job is to show people what is true. And we have a president who's doing his best to clamp down on the media, to shut down on protest. He does not want us to use our First Amendment rights. Let's not forget who is in power. They control both branches of government, and they have appointed the majority of the Supreme Court. If Republicans can't deliver when they hold all of the power, then what they're telling us is that they're powerless, and it's up to Americans to take our power back, to take our country back, and to create the future that we deserve.
Stacey Abrams, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, yeah. And you go on and become the governor of Georgia, and we'll see how that goes for the state of Georgia. Unbelievable. By the way, just, if you want to keep track of this stuff, We actually have a market that's on fire right now. You get the S&P up 2.6%. You get the NASDAQ up nearly 4%. You get the Dow up 2.25%. And why is that? Oh, because we're actually getting a trade deal with China. And actually, this is a trade deal that's going to work out for us. What do you know? Hey, maybe that's a good thing. We got a stronger dollar right now. Again, maybe that's a good thing. Unbelievable to me. What are they going to do, these people, when it turns out this whole thing is a giant success? Well, Stacey Abrams, minus her $2 billion and her little pet projects, is moving on to other things. In fact, the latest and greatest is a children's book. I guess this is how she's raking in the bucks. I mean, hey, isn't this the book you always wanted to read? Stacey Speaks Up. We have to watch it because it's worth a laugh.
Well, Stacey Speaks Up is the story of little Stacey and a day in the cafeteria when she notices one of her classmates can't afford lunch. She wrestles with what it means to need an adult's help, but to believe that she might be the only solution. And so she takes it upon herself to gather her friends and see if she can tackle the issue of hunger, but also, think about what it means to speak up for someone else.
Okay. I could go a lot of places with that. I just won't. But suffice it to say, the woman's a socialist who cares a lot about lining her own pockets. And in my estimation, is willing to just completely refute the truth in order to continue lining her own pockets. And she's coming up with more clever ways to line them in light of the $2 billion spigot gravy train being gone.